making headlines. Maldives is set to co-chair the Commonwealth's ministerial meeting on small states 2026. The foreign minister asserts that small nations should be afforded the opportunity to attract investment through internationally recognized private enterprises. And the government proposes amendment to the Tobacco Control Act to impose a fine of $1,302 for the sale of e-cigarettes and vaping products.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Hello and welcome to PSMNEWS in English with me, Udma Mahmood. Looking into the details, Maldives is set to co-chair the Commonwealth's ministerial meeting on small states, CMMSS, to be held in 2026. The decision was announced during the ongoing ministerial meeting of the small states ahead of the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting in Samoa.
In a statement released by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Maldives is set to assume the role of co-chair of the meeting along with the host country of the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting in 2026. As the co-chair, the Maldives will focus on continuing the advocacy efforts in support of the interests of the small states. The ministry stated that this role will further enhance the Maldives' efforts in championing the cause of small island developing states on the global stage. During the ongoing meeting of the CMMSS in the margins of the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting, Minister of Foreign Affairs Dr. Abdullah Halil engaged with foreign ministers from Commonwealth member states. The discussions primarily focused on pressing issues facing small states, including economic vulnerability, climate action, and access to finance. Furthermore, Minister Dr. Halil underscored the need for financial reforms to address the challenges faced by small states. The minister urged for stronger commitments on climate finance ahead of the COP29 and called for enhanced access to finance and debt sustainability solutions. He also shed light on initiatives such as SIDS Debt Sustainability Support Service and stressed the importance of economic diversification for long-term resilience of small states. The Commonwealth Ministerial Meeting on Small States is a key gathering held on the sidelines of the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting, bringing together foreign ministers from across the Commonwealth to engage and foster partnerships to promote resilience and sustainable development of small states.
We'll return after Isha prayer. Stay tuned.
मगुमचे सवाल को नुदुनु एमे फोन तिजहुनी मुळिमुन ग बेंडेज वालाकन एक्सीडेंट तहुगा नुवदी है इसे तमी हम मारवनी बोले लिबियानी अक्सर साइकिल दुबार हेलमेट वाला
मम्माती असली हिम्मगे दम्मरतिये अलिको दिंगमगे
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر الله قائمة الوسيلة والفضيلة والدرجة الرفيعة برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين وصلى الله على محمد وآله وصحبه وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين.
ಕೊಮ್ಮೆ ಹರಕು ಅಮ್ಮಿಲಿಯನ್ ಟಣುಗೆ ಪ್ಲಾಸ್ಟಿಕ್ ದುನಿಯೆಗೆ ಕಂಡುತಕಂ ಇಳೆ ಮೂದಂ ಉಕಾಲೆವೆ ಪ್ಲಾಸ್ಟಿಕ್ಗೆ ತೆರೆಂ ಗಿನ ಅದತಿಗೆ ಕುಣಿ ಒಯ್ಗಂಡುಗ ಜೆಹಿ ಕಣುಗೆ ಏಕೆ ಹಿಸಾಬ್ತಕ ಜಮಾವೆ ಮಿಗೊತ್ತ ಕುಣಿ ಜಮಾವಾ ಮ್ಯಾಗಂಡು ಫಸ್ ಸರಹದ್ದೆ ಕಂಡುತಹುಗಾವೆ ಮೀಗೆ ತೆರೆಂ ಎಮ್ಮೆ ಕುಣಿ ಗಿನಂ ಎವ್ವೆಫಾ ಹುರಿ ಎಸ್ ಸರಹದ್ದು ಕಮುಗಾವಾ ಪೆಸಿಫಿಕ್ ಗಯಾ ರಾಜ್ಯಗೆ ಕಂಡುಗೆ ಸರಹದ್ದವುರೆ ಅಗ್ಗುಣ ಬೊಡು ಮೂದಶಾ ಕಂಡ ಕುಣಿಯಳು ಹುಟ್ಟಾರಮ
Once again, welcome to PSM News in English. Minister of Foreign Affairs Dr. Abdullah Halil asserts that small nations should be afforded the opportunity to attract investment through internationally recognized private enterprises.
Minister Dr. Halil asserted that small nations should be afforded the opportunity to attract investment through internationally recognized private enterprises at an event convened on the margins of the Commonwealth Heads of Government Meetings 2024 in Samoa. During the meeting, Minister Dr. Halil underscored the importance of enabling small nations to attract investments from internationally recognized private enterprises. The minister articulated that the contributions of small countries are essential for realizing global development objectives. He further emphasized the necessity of enhancing access to financial assistance for these nations and advocated for their increased engagement in the international arena. Additionally, he noted that the Maldives is actively investing in emerging sectors such as artificial intelligence and technology.
The Ministry of Tourism reveals that the Maldives has welcomed over 1.6 million tourists so far this year.
The latest tourism update report released by the Tourism Ministry indicated that a total of 1,603,287 tourists visited the Maldives as of October 21st. This is a significant increase of 9.5% compared to the tourist arrival within the same period last year. The statistics further show that a total of 111,260 tourists visited the Maldives till so far this month, a notable 7.7% compared to the number of tourists who arrived during the same period last year. The statistics indicate that China continues to be the top market source of tourism with 235,765 tourist arrivals. Following China, the leading source markets include Russia with 176,185 visitors, 136,081 tourist arrivals from the United Kingdom, 120,380 from Germany, and 111,478 from Italy. Additionally, the data shows the tourist arrival from India has been increasing with a total of 96,763 tourists arriving up to this date. On an average, 5,435 tourists arrive to the Maldives daily. The steady influx has encouraged the government to set an ambitious target of attracting 2 million tourists by the end of the year. To achieve this goal, the Maldives now has to welcome 396,713 tourists. The government has been exerting several efforts to increase the tourist arrivals. As such, it has been actively collaborating with parties involved in the tourism industry to showcase the Maldives in international platforms.
Minister of Tourism Ibrahim Faisal emphasizes the efforts being exerted by the government to increase the bed capacity for tourism in Hanimadu Hadal Atoll by the time the development of Hanimadu International Airport is completed.
In response to queries raised by parliamentarians, Minister Faisal reiterated President Dr. Muhammad Muizzu's pledge of developing the tourism industry, highlighting that 15 hectares of Wakara Muradu Halif Atoll was among the first islands the current administration allocated for tourism. The minister stated that the development of tourism on the island has also been contracted. Furthermore, Minister Faisal anticipated that the development works of Hanimadu International Airport will be completed by March 2025. The minister revealed plans of increasing the bed capacity of the island by then by introducing additional 4,000 beds. Moreover, Minister Faisal disclosed that decisions have been made to hold investor forums in various countries, aiming to seek potential investors to expand tourism nationwide. The minister underscored the crucial importance of providing information on investment opportunities in the Maldives tourism industry. He additionally stated that forwarding information on specific projects to investors will play a significant role in elevating the development of the tourism industry.
Minister of Tourism Ibrahim Faisal announces the government's decision to amend the Tourism Act in response to the long-standing issue of islands leased for tourism development that have remained undeveloped. He highlighted that some islands have been leased for 20 to 30 years without any progress in opening them to tourists.
In response to inquiries from parliamentarians, Minister Faisal reported that 58 islands leased for tourism development have not been developed for various reasons. He mentioned that a proposal has been submitted to the Economic Council outlining potential actions regarding these islands. Furthermore, he indicated that the Attorney General is actively working on amendments to the Tourism Act. Minister Faisal emphasized that the decision to amend the legislation arises from the observation that legal terminations often lead to insufficient changes through the court system. The amendments aim to address this inadequacy. Additionally, the minister noted that some islands where development has halted are in significant arrears in payment to the state. To address this, the Ministry of Tourism is working to provide the necessary assistance to those affected. He also stated that he has sought the Attorney General's advice on the cancellation of agreements for 22 islands where no progress has been made. The government is committed to expanding tourism across the country and enhancing the industry's profitability. The Ministry of Tourism is actively striving to attract foreign investment in the sector.
Minister of Homeland Security and Technology Ali Hassan states the government is committed to implementing the Tobacco Control Act emphasizing its intention to effect a meaningful change during its term. He made these remarks at a press conference held at the President's office.
Minister Ihsan emphasized that despite the existence of various regulations and laws regarding tobacco use and products, the main issue is the current legislation does not effectively address the problem. He indicated that under the initiative of President Dr. Mohammad Muiz, the government has proposed amendments to the Tobacco Act, which includes increasing the duty on tobacco products, raising the minimum age for selling tobacco products to 21 years and banning vaping. Minister Ihsan acknowledged that certain laws face challenges in implementation, stating that the amendment to the Tobacco Control Act will impose greater responsibilities on the enforcement agencies to uphold the law. He assured that law enforcement agencies will act in accordance with the provisions of the Act and emphasized that there will be a marked improvement in the effectiveness of the enforcement efforts regarding tobacco control. Some parliamentarians have expressed concern that increasing the duty on tobacco products may lead to higher cigarette prices and the emergence of a black market. The minister acknowledged receiving reports of such a market already emerging, but assured that he would not allow it to proliferate.
The government proposes amendment to the Tobacco Control Act to impose a fine of $1,302 for the sale of e-cigarettes and vaping products and $325.75 for their use. The bill was introduced in Parliament by Parliamentarian Ahmad Aifan on behalf of the government.
The amendment aims to prohibit the use and sale of vapes while instituting stringent measures against violators. Under the proposed amendments, the sale of tobacco products to individuals under the age of 21 will be prohibited, along with any participation in such sales. Additionally, retailers will be required to display warnings at points of sale. Currently, the minimum age for selling tobacco products is set at 18 years. The amendment further stipulates that the advertisement, public display, and transportation of tobacco products in public view will be banned in the Maldives. The manufacture of tobacco and any tobacco-related products will also be prohibited. Moreover, the proposed amendment prohibits the import, sale, free distribution, and use of vaping devices such as e-cigarettes. Should such items be imported into the Maldives, a fine of $3,257 will be levied, along with a fine of $651 for each individual item. The bill specifies a fine of $1,302 for selling any type of vaping device and a fine of $651 for each item sold. Additionally, a fine of $325.75 will be imposed for the use of any vaping devices. Furthermore, any individual who sells or distributes a vaping device to a minor will face a fine of $3,257, in addition to penalties for the sale and distribution of such devices. Under this amendment, all individuals engaged in the import, export, and sale of tobacco products, both in bulk and individually, will be required to obtain a special license, which will not be granted for tobacco-related businesses alone. The amendment is anticipated to be approved and will come into effect on November 15th, as outlined in the bill submitted to the Parliament.
The International Monetary Fund (IMF) has reported in its latest forecast that the outlook for global growth has improved but still faces medium-term challenges.
The IMF said ahead of the release of the World Economic Outlook during this week's annual meetings that inflation is moderating back towards target and growth stabilizing, but long-term productivity gains are still lackluster. IMF Deputy Director of Research, Petya Cueva-Brooks, stated that inflation is coming down as expected. The release of the report comes as continued war in Ukraine and the conflict in the Middle East sparks geopolitical unease, and many governments in advanced economies are signaling a turn towards adopting more protectionist measures. The deputy director said that the main downside risks are the escalations of these geopolitical conflicts, trade protectionism, weaker labor markets, and financial market turbulence. The IMF had three main recommendations to policymakers: one relating to monetary policies, another related to fiscal policies, and the third being related to boosting medium-term growth.
Several hundred protesters besieged the presidential palace in Bangladesh's capital Dhaka on Tuesday evening, demanding the resignation of President Mohammad Shahabuddin.
The unrest began after the local tabloid Manab Zamin published an interview with Shahabuddin in which he said he had only heard from the former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina had resigned, but he had seen no evidence to confirm it. In the interview, Shahabuddin mentioned his unsuccessful attempts to obtain a resignation letter from Hasina, suggesting she may not have had the time. The anti-discrimination student movement, the group that played a key role in ousting Hasina in August, held a rally in Dhaka where they announced a 5-point list of demands that included the president's resignation. The protesters said Shahabuddin's remarks created controversy over Hasina's legitimacy as the country's stand-in premier, which they strongly oppose. Later, as protesters marched towards the presidential residence, they were met by military barricades. They gathered outside the property and chanted slogans calling for the president's resignation. As tensions escalated, police used stun grenades in an attempt to disperse the crowd when protesters tried to breach security barriers. The unrest has spread beyond the capital, with demonstrations held in several other districts across the country. Hasina's son, Sajib Wazir, said in August that his mother had not resigned as Prime Minister before fleeing to India on August 5th, following months of deadly protests against her regime.
Bayern Munich coach Vincent Kompany said on Tuesday, before the two sides meet in the Champions League, the meteoric rise of Barcelona winger Lamine Yamal so soon after club great Lionel Messi's departure is exceptional.
Teenager Yamal, crowned a European champion with Spain in July, is among the game's most exciting talents, and his emergence has raised the hopes of Barcelona fans that he could help them enjoy the sort of success they had with Messi, also a product of the club's famed La Masia Youth Academy. Messi now plays for Inter Miami in the United States, won 4 Champions League titles with Barcelona, along with 10 La Liga crowns and 3 Club World Cup trophies, among many others.
It's already exceptional for Barcelona as a club to so shortly after the departure of a player like Messi, who was for all the players of my generation, who was the one of the key figures of our football era, to then so shortly after this player leaving already have potentially a player who can replace him. It's quite unique. So again, full credit to La Masia, of course, for always being able to trust these type of players and give them a chance.
Yamal has enjoyed a fine start to the season following his Euro title run in the summer with the national team, with 5 goals and 6 assists across all competitions so far. Bayern, in 15th place after 2 match days, are desperate to bounce back following their loss to Aston Villa in their previous game. Wednesday's fixture will also see Kompany taking on former Bayern coach Hansi Flick, who had great success in Bavaria, winning the Champions League as part of a treble in 2020 before taking on the Germany job the following year. Since signing with the Catalans this summer, Flick has led Barca to the top of La Liga with 9 wins from the first 10 games.
Constellation Energy announced last month that it struck a deal to revive 3 Mile Island with the purpose of fueling data centers owned by Microsoft.
While the financial details of the 20-year power contract have not been made public, several financial groups say Microsoft likely agreed to pay more than $100 a megawatt hour, double what is typical for purchasing renewable electricity in the region. The effort to restore Unit 1 at 3 Mile Island is expected to take 4 years, at least $1.6 billion, and thousands of workers to complete the unproven task of restarting a nuclear plant that has been retired. Successfully reviving 3 Mile Island, which is widely known for a 1979 partial meltdown that chilled the US nuclear industry for decades, would put the plant at the front edge of an industry revival. Nuclear produces large amount of carbon-free electricity, which is attractive to companies like Microsoft that have climate promises to investors and face increase in public scrutiny for their voracious power use. Constellation Vice President of Generation, Brian Hansen, said that many fundamental changes have occurred in the industry, such that their nuclear plants operate better than any other nuclear plant in the world today.
That's it for now. Thank you for watching. Have a pleasant day ahead. Bye-bye.
ಮುಸ್ತಕ್ಬಲ್ಗ ದಿವಿಹೆ ಕೌಮಿಯತ ಇಸ್ವರ್ ವಾಣಿ ಇರಾದು ಕ್ರವಿಯ ಕಾನೂನು ಬಾರ್ ಲಿಬಿದೆ